Okay, we are live. Welcome to Agenda Review. We'll be reviewing agendas for Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. Manager Stoltz is on some prearranged travel, so we get the pleasure of Tanya Cole this morning to walk us through the agenda.
All right, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Just a reminder that for the agenda on Wednesday, May 8th, we are starting the meeting at 8:30, and that is due to the groundbreaking of the Biomed campus, which will happen at 11 o'clock. Just looking at the agenda, this is quite a doozy. So you might just keep in mind that as we go through this agenda, you may have to recess the meeting to make it to the groundbreaking and then have to come back depending on how we get through or how you all get through the agenda. So
and I'm open to your guys' thoughts too. We want to be able to break, and we also want to break for some lunch too. I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to go through this whole day without eating. So, and maybe dinner based on this agenda. The way this thing's set up with proclamations, and then we have appointments, 3 zoning cases, and 4 if we consider having to come back and revisit with what we did. I mean, is there a recommendation how we want to do this? Any thoughts? Just go until we need to break, or are we happy with the order of the agenda? Or guess we can walk through it and kind of come back to it. You want to do that? Let's see.
I just think just if we get to lunchtime and it looks like we have a lot left, just break for lunch and come back at 1 o'clock.
Well, we'll be breaking it for the groundbreaking by about 10:45. We walk over 10:30, 10:45. We walk over.
That'll probably take us till at least 11:15, 11:30. Then I'd say add an hour to that. So it takes you 12:30. Get back here. I mean, it's not wrong to break the meeting and come back.
Sure.
At, 1 o'clock or whatever, but
We
we just
do
need to have
have,
I need to have our
budget
afternoons
hearings.
clear to come back if we need to.
Do we
Yeah,
have budget hearings
also
that
that
morning?
afternoon.
At 1 o'clock, that's your CIP presentation.
Well, the odds are we'll probably have BOCC meetings happening at that 1 o'clock on Wednesday the 8th. We're gonna break and come back.
Just break, go over there and do it.
Could we just, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. If you
Oh,
were
go ahead,
talking.
Commissioner Lopez.
Sorry, I don't know if your microphone is off, but I apologize if I talked over someone. But could we just have a working lunch like we've done in the past? I mean, if we have so much that we have to accomplish on Wednesday, do we need to really take a break and then be here extra long in the evening? I don't know, but
I'm just looking at these zoning cases, and I'm spitballing. I think we probably got 2 to 3 hours of work just in the zoning cases, honestly. Just knowing what these zoning cases are, and we have to come back and revisit a vote on the brief. So we have 4 zoning cases on Wednesday. I bet we got 3 hours of work just in the zoning cases based on a couple of these are going to take a lot of conversation. So Commissioner Dennis.
You and I are both on the KU board, and they also have a reception niche immediately following groundbreaking. So
Right.
something to consider.
Okay, let's do this. Let's walk through the agenda, and then we'll come back and talk about schedule and figure out how we do this.
okay, so county announcements. Nicole, do you want to go over county announcements?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I have down the treasurer, Brandy Bailey, is going to come and talk about second half taxes. And then for county good news, corrections recently received a certification and they want to come and talk to you about it. And again, as stated, our meeting starts at 8:30 that day. And that's all I have.
Okay, for item B, proclamation declaring Police Week, Sheriff Easter will be here to accept that proclamation. Proclamation declaring Professional Municipal Clerks Week, that'll be accepted by County Clerk Kelly Arnold, and we'll have a short video for that. Proclamation declaring National Tennis Month, that will be accepted by Carrie Morris, who's the president of U.S. Tennis Association, the Kansas district. Then we'll get into appointments. We have a resignation from the Wichita Sedgwick County Food and Farm Council. Then we have a resolution appointing Al Bescher to the Sedgwick County Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board, and that is an appointment by Commissioner Dennis, and that's a 4-year term. Next, a resolution, we have appointed Jennifer Chambers, and she will be appointed to the Sedgwick County Emergency Communications Community Advisory Board, and that's being recommended by the Derby City Council. Okay, then moving into new business, we will have an update on the 2024 legislative session. That'll be given by our lobbyists, Jason Watkins and Jessica Lucas, and so that'll just be a recap and summary of the 2024 legislative session. We could, yes, if you'd like to, certainly. Well, that'll be 2 weeks actually, because we don't have a meeting on the 15th.
That's for consideration, yeah.
That's possible, but certain things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because there could be some last minute legislative stuff anyway, right?
Yeah. Would you reach out to them and see
I
if
will,
it would be open
certainly.
to defer?
Yep, certainly.
Unless it's urgent, or they think there's something urgent, but yeah, be aware.
No, I don't think it was anything urgent. I think it's just an opportunity for them to recap on our platform in the
Yeah.
session.
Since it's just a receive and file, can they not just do this at a staff meeting anyway? I mean, it just need to be during an agenda.
I think so. What do you think, Tanya?
We can move to the following Tuesday if that worked out.
We talked about either staff meeting or a BOCC meeting, so it's whatever you
Well,
prefer.
I think we're in agreement. And Commissioner Lopez, if you are disagree, let us know. But why don't we defer this? And if we restaff it, put on a staff meeting date or put it on another BOCC date. But it's just saying because of the schedule, that makes sense.
Sure. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so then item I, J, K, those are planning and zoning changes. One is a conditional use request. So I can tell you that you have briefings this afternoon with Scott. However, Scott is here if he wants to give a high level overview on these items.
Hi, Scott.
Hello. So certainly, in terms of the overview, so zoning case 2024-06, this is one that's out by Colwich and they're looking at doing large lot residential. This one went to the Planning Commission twice and then was unanimously recommended for approval. The city of Colwich has not formally weighed in, but their mayor did appear at the Planning Commission meeting and indicated support. So.
She also attended my citizens advisory board and indicated.
So that's all I've got on that one. The next one then, item J, zone 2410. This one is an application to allow for vehicle storage. This is down by Hayesville, and there is a significant protest, I think over 80% on this one against the application. The CAB voted to recommend denial of it, and the city of Hayesville, their planning commission came out with a recommendation of denial as well. The MAPC did recommend approval, so so you're getting some mixed recommendations in terms of that case. Item K is a conditional use for a rock. It's two parts. One is for rock crushing, and the other one is for mining and quarrying. Sorry. This is where the county and city kind of butt up against each other. There are houses directly to the east of this one. This one also has had mixed recommendations. So the CAB voted to recommend denial of both. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of both. And there have been no protest applications received on this one. No protest petitions on it. And then the last one then, PUD 2401 was the one that you heard just earlier this week. So.
Okay. Any questions for Scott? Thanks, sir.
Yeah, that's the one for the vote since Commissioner Dennis is not here.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, and then like I said, you will have further briefings with Scott this afternoon on those three. Okay, then item M is consideration of RHID revitalization housing incentive district in Goddard, Kansas. And so on this particular item, you will have to take action on the creation of this RHID. So Brent, I know you're here. I don't know if you want to add any.
Brent, have you been able to finish your research and on adverse effect? That's what we're discussing. Is there adverse effect to the county? And we either have two options, right? We approve or we nullify.
So the RHID statutes give the commissioners one option, and that is to nullify the creation of the district. If you do not take action, then there's no formal action to approve. So as I understand, there will be a resolution drafted that you can adopt to nullify the district, but there wouldn't be a resolution that you approve the district.
Okay.
So that's the only action,
So
nullification.
does staff make a recommendation based on your research? Is that what I see just take action as commission deems necessary? Are you going to make a recommendation? Are you able to?
Typically with the agenda items like this, the recommended action is stated as take action as deemed necessary. But we will be prepared for completing with some meetings this afternoon, the analysis, and I will be making a recommendation at the commission
At the
meeting.
commission meeting. Okay. Any questions for Brent?
Item N then is the MABCD fee waivers for approved low-income housing tax credit projects. I think you've been briefed on this, except for maybe with the exception of Commissioner Dennis. This is a fee waiver on infill projects, and I think the city has. It's not infill, I'm sorry, okay. Rusty, please correct me on that then. But the city has approved it.
This is a program through, it's HUD dollars that pass through the state. It's a competitive process at the state level. And successful applications, if they are awarded, this resolution would allow the building department to waive permitting fees for any awarded project. And the number of awarded projects in Sedgwick County is limited to a maximum of 4 in the county. Historically, there's never been, in the years that I remember seeing, there's never been more than 2 in a calendar year that have been awarded. So, but we've spoken to each commissioner. We need to speak to Commissioner Dennis here at 11 or after this meeting.
Okay. Very good.
Next item, I will be presenting. This is the code changes for Sedgwick County Park, and there's one for Northeast Sedgwick County Park and Lake Afton Park. So this is basically kind of changing the philosophy at these parks, as well as addressing safety and the appearance of the parks, as well as there are some fee increases on that. The next item then is, yes, sir.
Actually, I wanted to talk about both of this one that she just briefed and the next one. Again, if our meeting is long, should we be looking at those, or is it one of those critical that we have to do at this meeting?
Yeah, I can certainly move that. That's there's no issue on that. Okay.
So both O and P.
Okay, we can move that and P as well. Okay, do you need me to say anything on P other than just that we're moving that one?
And if I can make a comment, and I'm not saying that there's any reason we can't continue those, it's certainly up to the will of the board. Parks codes are unique under state law where we have to publish them 3 weeks in a row. So it would defer the effective date a few weeks, probably 2 weeks if they should, to the 22nd. But I also don't know if that's a major concern to the board or not, but I just figured I'd mention it.
That's not a concern. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you need me to cover anything on P as far as that was?
No, is everybody in agreement? We can defer that as this community development program. So.
Okay. Q then is board of bids and contracts. There were 4 items on that agenda. I don't know if you need me to discuss what those items are. Okay. R then is, okay, resolution authorizing establishment of a 4-way stop at the intersection of 79th Street South and Greenwich. I think there was no fiscal impact on that. And Lynn, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
No, this just codifies a stop sign, 2 stop signs that were just installed on Wednesday.
And I'll just throw this out there. There may be a few people want to speak on this. If that happens, we don't have to pull this off consent. I'm not saying I need to speak on it, but I may have some constituents who may want to speak on it.
Okay.
So you want to pull it off consent?
I'm not saying we'll pull it off now, but if they show up Wednesday, I'll make a motion to pull it off.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad to see that Annette is on Zoom. I'm going to try to speak to item S, and I may need Annette's help. So as I understand this, CP AAA contracts with home health agencies to provide in-home services. And so as I understand this, the contractor Home Technology Solutions enters into a contract with CP AAA. So what they're wanting to do here is assign the rights and responsibilities under the Senior Care Act to Medscope America. And then Medscope America would agree to assume and perform all responsibilities and obligation under this contract. So it sounds to me like they're just moving over this contract to this company. Annette, am I stating that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. The new company bought out Home Technology. So that is, it's just a change in name, and they will provide the same services at the same cost. So it was just reassigning the name in the contract to the new owner of the business.
Okay, then item T is an agreement with National Center for Systemic Therapeutic Assessment Resources and Treatment, which is actually START Services. And so CDDO receives a grant to improve the response to individuals with IDD experience a mental health crisis. And so they are contracting with START. And so, as I understand this, they have requested in this grant an addition of community educational meetings as part of CDDO's initiative to improve crisis services for individuals with IDD. And so there's no fiscal impact on this because the budget authority is already as part of this is already approved. So they're just adding that additional educational meetings.
Can I ask for that to be edited so that the START acronym is in that title? That would be very helpful for transparency and clarification. Thank you.
Annette, do you have anything you want to add to that?
This is being funded out of the grant we received from KDADS that goes through the fiscal year 2024, and that was for the crisis response. So it's really looking at those to address those issues with the intersection of IDD and mental health. So START is a model that is well recognized, and so that's just one of the services they're going to be providing us for our crisis response work.
Okay, very good.
Okay, item U is for consideration of 2024 City of Wichita Housing First Agreement. So this is an agreement between the City of Wichita and ComCare for those individuals who meet the criteria of chronic homelessness and disability. So the 2024 contractual funding is stated under there, $191,368, and the budget authority already exists in the 2024 budget for this agreement. Okay. Item V and AB actually go together. This is an agreement to have a gladiator dash out at Sedgwick County Park. This is the fee for this is $3,000, and then they are also renting some shelters out there. And this is Child Advocacy Center who is requesting this portion of the Sedgwick County Park to host this gladiator dash.
Any commissioners competing in the gladiator dash?
Is there weapons involved?
It is an annual.
I know what it is. Great. Yeah, it is. Go ahead. Sue.
I was just curious. You said 3,000. Who pays who 3,000?
Who pays the $3,000?
Yeah.
Child Advocacy Center.
Oh, they pay the county. Okay.
Yes. Okay, next item is an agreement for the Coleman parking lot. This is a first event for them. It is a 2024 classic car rally. So they are renting the Coleman parking lot for this event for $200 and it will be from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for this car rally.
Okay.
We rent that for 200.
Well, it's the usage is 150 and then the attendance is $50 and then they give a $250 deposit.
They invited me to participate in it, and I just didn't know what they had all was going on.
Sure.
You have to recuse yourself.
Okay, item X then is certification of direct expenses incurred by the county in conducting the 2024 presidential preference primary election. So this will be reimbursement from the Secretary of State to hold this election, and we will be reimbursed in the amount of $259,839.69 for this election from the Secretary of State. Item Y then is, okay, this is a resolution to delegate authority for the acquisition of real property. You have seen this all before when we acquire property. This is for the elections building, and this gives authority to the manager, deputy county manager, and myself to be able to sign closing documents. Item Z then is a request to hire a commercial building plans examiner above grade minimum. The manager has approved this, and this will come out of the revenue fund. Item AA is to consider a request for property tax relief in the amount of $2,452.85. This was due to a fire, and 88% of the home was destroyed because of the fire. And then item AB, we already talked about, that was for the Gladiator Dash. And then AC is the general bill check register. And then everything else is standard business.
Are you, since we're deferring the legislative update, are you want to also defer legislative issues?
Yeah, that can be deferred as well.
And there's no fire district?
No fire district, no executive session.
Okay, Commissioner Howe.
On these property tax relief items like item AA, have those always been on consent? I thought these used to be on regular business.
They used to, every single one of them used to be on new business. I believe when we adopted the policy in 2019 or 2020, whenever that was, I think we shifted them to traditionally be under consent agenda. You also delegated, if the elements weren't met, the statutory elements, the county manager the authority to say that the item wasn't going to be approved per policy. So these have generally been consent agenda items. There is notice sent to the impacted taxing subdivisions. They do get notice of them, but I believe these have traditionally been on consent agendas.
The reason I want this not on consent is I want a chance to vote against every one of these from this point forward.
Okay.
I want to repeal that law. I'm the one that started this law, and it got morphed into, just like the RHID, it morphed into something that was not the original intent. This law was intended to deal with a mass situation like a tornado damage to a community. And now it's being utilized on every single house that has a fire is going to go for this type of abatement. That's not what it was not intended for that. These homes have community supports. They have churches and private sector organizations, charity organizations. They have insurance, they have Red Cross, they have all kinds of things to help them. This was not intended to be on an individual one house fire basis. So I want to vote against every one of these from this point forward. And so I want it always to be on the regular agenda. Thanks.
Understood.
So for this one here, do you want to pull it off the consent? So you can pull it off the consent on the new business?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine.
The other side of the story, though, is that we're requiring them to pay property tax on something that doesn't exist anymore.
Property tax is paid in arrears. And that was the argument I made, by the way, when I argued for the law in the first place. We've got a community that's suffering in a large fashion. You've got, let's see, Andover just had a tornado and had 1,000 homes destroyed. And in that regard, it's a way for the community to kind of come together and help out in a large scale. I understand your point exactly, but a property tax is always paid in arrears. And I understand the argument. I somewhat agree, but the problem we have is this law was not intended to be used this way. And
I understand.
I just don't agree with it anymore.
But my concern is, what I understand is we prorate it based on the amount of time that they owned it, whatever, before it burned down, and we only defer the part after it burned down.
I don't agree with that. I think the property tax is always paid in arrears, and so you pay. I don't think that's true. This is basically a gift to someone who's going through a hard time.
Justin, how do we? I thought it was prorated.
It's not prorated necessarily. They get the tax benefit. I think Commissioner Howell's analysis is correct in terms of the taxes are behind. And so I think the intent, and Commissioner Howell again was part of the state legislature, and this came up, was to ensure that property owners whose homesteads were destroyed by an event were not having to pay taxes. Now, those taxes had obviously accrued January 1st. Earlier, it was when they became assessed for that, but they had to pay later. And so I think to that end, I think what Commissioner Howell's saying is that they're entitled to the full relief on that because of, I think, the intent of limiting their responsibility if the board decides to approve it. And these are discretionary. I should point out that On every one of these, there's no requirement that the board ever has to grant tax relief. That's certainly discretionary, but the statute doesn't set it up to where it's based on either getting not having to pay taxes that are already due, or if they've already paid the taxes, they can get a credit for future taxes, but it's not necessarily on a prorated basis under state law.
But well, let's take this one, $2,452. Is that the amount of tax that they owed while it was still in existence, or is that the amount of tax they owed after it's been burned?
Let me look into that further, Commissioner Dennis, if that's okay. I'm not as familiar with all the specifics on this one, so I want to give you a better answer.
If it's the tax they incurred while they were living in it and have full use of it, we shouldn't defer it because they had use of it. My concern is if it's tax that is incurred after it burned down, they didn't have use of it, and I think that's appropriate to defer.
Sure.
So you'll let us know on this.
Yeah, we'll get back some more details on this particular property. And as I think the board's indication is to put this on new business, there will be somebody to present this item as well who can put that as part of the presentation as well.
If you don't mind, let me just recap one more time to make sure I have everything. Item H, legislative session 2024, we'll bring that to a staff meeting. And then item O, which is the resolution on parks. Item P, which is a resolution on community program funding, we'll move that to the next meeting. And then item AA, which we just have discussed, we'll move that to new business for next meeting. Is that accurate?
That's what I got.
Okay.
I have a question on item X as well, still.
Go ahead.
Item X, I'd like to see, I know this is probably done and verified by other people, but I'd like to see a report. The state estimated $5 million for the entire state of Kansas for this election. We have 1/6 of the state's population. I'm a little surprised that number is only $260,000. And I think about, we had 15 days of voting at the election office, 5 days of early voting at 16 or 17 or 18 early vote sites. And we deployed equipment just like it was a regular election. We deployed all the same equipment, had to program a lot of equipment, we had staff, we had regular staff at every site, just like it was regular election. If that's only $260,000, that's going to be a new benchmark for every election going forward. See my point? Can't tell me the presidential is going to be millions of dollars if this one's only $260,000. So I want to see how this number was calculated, because it doesn't seem right to me.
I see Christian and Laura on Zoom if they want to speak to it now. I do know there's some backup in your agenda.
Sure.
That has those costs broken out by type. We can dig into that, but I want to give them the opportunity to speak now.
Let me just say, I know they do a great job. I'm surprised knowing the state allocated $5 million to this. Or 1/6 of the population. And what I saw was deployed to the regular election. I find that very difficult to believe it's only $260,000. And second of all, I think there's even mail ballots and there's all kinds, I'm really surprised that's the number. But,
Laura, any insight?
Chris,
Yeah,
we're
Laura-
both here.
Yeah, we're both here on Laura's microphone right now. For reference, our original estimate was around $292,000. So this is around 260. It's not too far off from our original estimate that we had provided to you guys during the last budget cycle. But if you look within the actual agenda, it should include all of our invoices, payments. There's a summary of all the expenditures that we spent, ballots, advanced ballots, print shop, postage. Most of that should be all within your documents.
Okay, we can review that and might circle back with questions. And
Perfect. Thank you.
very good. Thank you.
That's all I have.
That's everything. Okay. Guess my only concern, I appreciate the opportunity to defer some of these items. We'll likely break probably about 10:45 and walk over. Commissioners, it might be wise to review your afternoon. I know we have a budget hearing scheduled, but I don't know what your thoughts are on.
Well, it's your tentative recommended CIP. So unlike the other hearing, what I'm saying is it's probably less critical that we have that one on that particular date than it is the others where we have multiple departments planning to come in. That's Lynn and I doing the bulk of the presenting to you. So if you wanted to look at handling that in a different fashion, if you wanted to move that off that date, certainly we would not be sad. And we can find another time on your guys' calendars where we can present that to you within short order.
I'm leaning towards that option. I don't know. I mean, the calendars are challenged with budget hearings. I understand it, but I do feel like there's going to be significant conversation. And my big concern on this agenda is the zoning. What if we have people coming and then we break? You know, we're going to break and we're going to break, go over there. And I know we'll come back, but we also have to fit in we got to eat at some point. We can do a working lunch, as Commissioner Lopez has said, but I just hate constituents coming to provide comments on a zoning case, and then we have to break the meeting and leave. So I don't know if that seems to be unavoidable. I mean, Scott, you're welcome to provide some input if you want. But I just.
Sure thing. What I would offer real quick is that we've tried to put the most controversial cases at the beginning of trying to front load that. The other thing that we can do is that we should have email contacts for people who have expressed interest in the case. And we can send out an email today to make them aware of that schedule so that they can plan accordingly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing that. I think we'll just kind of plow ahead and see what we can get done that morning, and then we will be breaking to go over to the biomed. So, and then come back after that. So,
Budget hearing, we can play that by ear. We can keep it.
Keep it on the calendar, play it by ear. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah.
We'll be ready to go if by some miracle it works out. But if not, we will plan to.
I'm reading between the lines.
Yeah, I'm not feeling real optimistic.
Okay.
Bring me an extra diet Mountain Dew.
You got it.
There you go. We'll just truck through.
Okay. Appreciate everybody for time. Very good. This is a big agenda. Appreciate you helping us on this. Anything else? Have a good weekend.